there are some designs that transcend time. We look to the past for inspiration to craft the light fighter of the future. Unmatched design, best-in-class maneuverability. Leave your enemies bewildered. After all, how can you kill what you can't catch? The 2949 Arrow from Anvil. Rise above. Available now. See your authorized Anvil dealer for details.
Wow, if only I could turn this guesswork into sports betting, I could make some real money. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, we have now seen the Anvil Arrow, the Anvil Light Fighter, highly maneuverable, We already know all this because kind of predicted it. Now, moving on. What else could there possibly be at the IAE Expo on Hurston at Lorville? You're probably making the trip right now and wondering exactly that. What can I expect to see? Is it worth the trip? Is what Anvil has to show me worth the lengthy voyage from Olisar all the way to Hurston? And I can tell you, it absolutely 100% is. Because apart from the Arrow, Anvil is unveiling an absolute game changer. Something they never even told you was coming. Something that is going to change the very nature of Star Citizen. I'm talking about cloaking technology. Hey everybody, this is me, Soldier, and welcome to day one of the IAE, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And this is Anvil's Hall, featuring all of Anvil's hottest ships, sporting the latest in Anvil cloaking device technology. I mean, think of the possibilities now that we have cloaking devices in the game. Look at all these beautiful ships hidden seamlessly by that new cloaking technology. Well, not all of them. Of course, CIG product, there's going to be a few glitches and the cloaking device on the Hawk wasn't working. No Chris Roberts, eh? Always got some little bug somewhere. Okay. I'll stop with the cheesy trade show, voice and, music. Yeah. Whoops. The Hawk looks dope though. The Hawk does look absolutely dope. I really liked it. I was really impressed, to say the least. I kind of wish that there was like a step ladder and a platform off to one side so you can kind of climb up and then look down on the ship, but it is looking like a pretty cool ship. I was very excited to see it. I had heard that different people are seeing different versions of this. Some people are seeing the Arrowhead. Some people are seeing these platforms all filled with ships. Sadly, in the instance that I got into, when I finally got into the game, this is what I got. So this is what I got to work with. It ain't much. So I just tried to make the best of it I could and have some fun. So yeah, so day one of the IAE. I was dazzled. Absolutely dazzled. But you know what? It is a ship updates. We got to talk about ships. So I figured we would kind of take a quick look at most of the ships that Anvil has, what I think of them, what I see as the potential problems with them. So that way, if you're going to go and you're going to purchase one of these fine Anvil ships, wherever they are, you'll have at least my opinion to dislike, like, or perhaps inform your point of view. So let's start off with the hot new ship, the Anvil Arrow. What do I think of it? Well, from what we can see, and we're seeing very little, I wanted to get in the game and actually test fly it, but I can't get in the game anymore. So we're gonna go with what we can see, and it appears to be an attempt to kind of shoehorn almost Super Hornet levels of firepower onto something like a Gladius, though of course with that Anvil style, which is, you know, it's distinctive. So I mean, personally, visually, not my cup of tea, but obviously there are going to be people out there who think that this thing is just awesome. And it looks like it's going to be a riot to fly. I mean, it's supposed to be nimble. Obviously, it carries a lot of firepower. So there's a lot of potential there. And the fact that it comes in, I think the starting price on these things is 65 bucks, war bond. So I'm not sure, probably 80 bucks. Normal recycled money, which is probably where most people will end up picking this thing up. It has a lot of potential, not just as an LTI token, but it does look like a fun ship to fly. But if there's anything that we have learned in Star Citizen right now, when you're going off, you're doing missions, you're doing this, you're doing that, a lot of times you got to pick something up or drop something off, and it doesn't look like that ship has space for either of those things. So it may be a fun little fighter to fly, but its use is going to be fairly limited. But as an LTI token, pretty decent. The Anvil Hornet. Well, the entire Hornet family. Solid, dependable fighter. Absolutely solid and dependable fighter. Pretty much the basic all-arounder in the fighter community. Always well liked by its owners, reliable, dependable, strong, sturdy, decent firepower, not the fastest, not the most maneuverable, but always quite serviceable and usable. Just not all that exciting. It's not a bad buy. I mean, once again, kind of like the Arrowhead. I mean, if you're going out there, or Arrowhead, Arrow, if you're going out there and you're looking to just blow up evildoers or whatever and just have a lot of fun just bombing around in a fighter, and that's all that you plan to do, great ship, solid ship. However, if you're going to broaden your horizons, this ship does come with limitations. Now, you can swap out the ball turret for a cargo area, so you can potentially in the future stick cargo in there, though I think that that might be problematic once again doing missions, because you don't really have the facilities to kind of jump up on a wing and kind of toss the crates into there. You can purchase cargo and transport it somewhere else, but to manually put it in there, as you will need to do from time to time, I don't really see it. So still an absolutely solid fighter if space combat is your game. There are many different options out there, but I think the most broadly applicable option in terms of fighters would be the Hornet. The Anvil Hurricane. Perhaps one of the more difficult ships to nail down on this list, because its turret houses most of its firepower, being that there are 4 size 3 guns on the turret and 2 under the control of the pilot in the nose of the ship. And turret gameplay being what it is currently in Star Citizen, it really has failed to distinguish itself. And it has become almost a meme of a fighter, in that it's kind of that fighter that there are a few people out there who have it, but you never really see it in the game. Apart from when it first became flight ready, you saw a whole bunch of them, and then you never saw them again. Now, with the change to the flight engine coming up in the future, and of course improvements in turret gameplay, this ship could still come out and be a bit of a powerhouse. This has a lot of potential. But once again, that is potential that has yet to be realized. So there is a bit of a question mark attached to the ship. Will they bring it to life? Will they make it work as people expect it to? So that ship, in my eyes, I say it's a ship that has strong potential, but currently feels like a bit of a gamble. Next up, the Anvil Terrapin. Now, the Anvil Terrapin is probably the biggest question mark in the Anvil lineup. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that this is a scanning and exploration vessel, which isn't a bad idea. It's a good idea, and it's a fun idea to have in the game. However, the value of the information that you're going to be going out and getting, that is a little bit up in the air. What I mean by that is, if it really is all that valuable, then chances are people will probably go out and get it for themselves. The other side of it is it may be able to cover a very large area because of its scanning facility, so it can obtain a lot more information faster. So it's a lot easier to narrow things down and find, whatever the valuable resources, a good place to put a base, that sort of thing, maybe a shipwreck. This is going to be a very strong ship in, that area. The only downside to it is it really can't do anything other than kind of sell that information on, or take that information and go and get into a ship that can actually do something with the information. Apart from that, for me, I don't really see it as being all that exciting of a ship, but it certainly is a ship that has potential. Next up, we have the Anvil Valkyrie. Now, the Anvil Valkyrie is probably one of the better ships out there. There's a lot of really great things about this ship. The way that it's designed, the way that it's implemented in the game, the way everything has been thought out with this ship, it really works. I mean, you have remotely operated guns at the ends of the wings. You have turrets. It's great for clearing out a landing area and then dropping troops and a vehicle. Though no cargo, because cargo is different than vehicles, even though you carry them both like cargo. It's logic or something. It's a fantastic ship. There's so many good things going on with this ship, so many well thought out ideas apart from the cargo thing, and one other slight weakness, and unfortunately it's a weakness that it shares with the Terrapin, in that they both have awful cockpits. There was a joke that was made not too long ago with the release of this ship on Reddit. Someone made a joke about CIG, selling LTI booster seats so that you can see over the consoles, because this is really bad. I mean, it almost comes up to the halfway point on your screen and pretty much cuts off all the terrain beneath you. But don't worry, you don't have to worry about, the terrain or what it looks like or where you can land on it. It's not like you're a dropship or any. Right. Well, moving on. There's a lot of great ideas with this ship. The cockpit thing, just like the Terrapin, it's kind of a bummer, but I don't think it's an insurmountable issue. I think that this is an issue that, given what we've seen from CIG with other ships, and certainly the way they've been, reassessing how they look at the view from the cockpit, I feel that it's a battle that could be very easily won by the owners of these ships. Certainly an issue that I'm not going to fail to be vocal about. I think it's something that can be resolved fairly easily. There shouldn't be a lot of big changes needed to resolve it. And since most of these ships at some point or another are going back to art to get their finishing touches, I don't think that it's a big ask either. However, would I purchase the Valkyrie? No, I would not. Nor would I ever recommend this to a player. In fact, I would stay as far away as possible from this thing because it's $100 overpriced. This is not a $375 ship. considering not just the no cargo thing, but its limited applications. And they are limited, especially when you factor in the fact that it just doesn't carry cargo in its cargo bay. Insanity. The price is ridiculous for this ship. Let me put it to you another way. For only $25 more, you can get so much more ship. And I'm talking about the Anvil Carrack, which also happens to be in production right now. Apparently there are 5 people working on it full time, and it is going straight through and getting done. This is a $400 ship. It has gotten about, 10 meters bigger? It can carry vehicles. It can carry people. It can travel to the furthest reaches of space. It can do all kinds of great things. And it only costs $25 more for so much more ship. Now, strictly speaking, if you are really looking at a dedicated ship to put vehicles on the ground, the Carrack can do that. And it can carry larger vehicles. Realistically, though, the Valkyrie might be something that Squadron 42 needed, it is not something that Star Citizen needed. And the price, in my opinion, seals the fate of that ship. The Carrack is so much better, and it's only $25 more. And speaking of the Carrack. Now, we know that this ship is in production right now. Now, it is not a dedicated military dropship like the Valkyrie, so there is a distinction there. But it certainly does fulfill some of the basic requirements. Now, the Carrack, though, is separate. It's a dedicated exploration vessel. And exploration has a question mark attached to it because we don't know exactly what shape it's going to take within the game, what the profit, the material profit is going to be in operating this ship. Though it certainly does have a lot of strengths. It does appear to have a strong profile in terms of being a generalist while also being a specialist in terms of scientific exploration, which is to say it can certainly fill a niche here and there in different roles, but it is a dedicated science ship, but it does have a broader amount of applications that can go along with that. I feel that it is going to be a strong ship for someone who wants to go out and explore, see what's out there. Certainly, if there are missions or certain commercial opportunities that involve scanning large areas of space, either for enemies or ore or other types of resources, this is probably going to be a strong contender in that area. I can certainly see possibilities in that direction. So I like this ship. I really do like this ship. Though there is nothing definite that I can point to and say that is going to be worth a lot of money in the universe. It's not like a Starfare where you can say, well, everybody needs gas, so a Starfare isn't a bad idea. There's nothing definite to point to, but it is still, I feel, a very strong contender. Now, the price certainly has gone up since its initial sale when it was $350. It is now $400. So that is something to take into consideration because it is certainly a very steep price. But I still like this ship. Not enough to own it, but then again, I am a pirate. So it's not exactly something that really fulfills my needs, but I definitely see a place for this ship in the universe, and I don't see it being a bad ship to own. And finally, the Anvil Crucible. Now, the Anvil Crucible, I think, is the profession vessel that, to me, I have the hardest time kind of trying to theory craft where I think it's going to fall. Is it a ship that is inherently useless? No. Is it a ship that is situational? Certainly. It is dependent on other people taking damage, right? Certainly, larger ships are probably more suited towards this ship. Now, if you run a very large org, and you're kind of focused, let's say on mercenary work, and you're going off and you're fighting the Vandal or whoever, you know, maybe getting into some really big fleet battles, something like that. This is certainly a ship that I don't think is going to be a miss in your fleet. It's something that you're going to look at and go like, oh, what the hell's the point of that thing? Let's get rid of it. I definitely think that you're going to be glad that something like this is there. Though every day, I'm not sure. I think that it's a strong ship to have if those are the areas that you're looking to focus on. Someone who has this ship and can bring it along with you, if they're not maybe someone who's more combat focused, but more someone who's logistically focused or repair or healing focused, someone of that temperament, then I think that certainly, or the healing of ships, not the healing of people. I certainly think that this is something that's going to come in handy. As a primary vessel, let's say if all you're going to do is repair, and when you're not doing that, you're out peddling your wares, I'm not sure how viable that is going to be. Like, repairs, come get your repairs. Yeah, repairs. You know, I'm not sure how viable that is going to be, because so much is dependent on things that we just haven't seen, things that have yet to materialize. And I think we're only getting repair at some point, I think in 3.5 or 3.6 is when we're getting the initial version of repair. Wait, let me look that up real quick, if the website is even working right now. Okay, so repair V1 is tentatively slated for June of 2019, Q2 2019, tentatively slated. Remember, at one point we were going to have salvage by now. Yeah. So we haven't even really begun to see these things emerge. Certainly we're going to start to get some inkling of it as we get closer to that date, so long as repair does meet the date. But to see how it's going to pan out in the universe day in, day out for someone who owns this ship, I'm not all that certain. So I can't really make a prediction there, because there's just so much information, so much data that we just don't have on something like this. But certainly, yeah, if you're operating a large fleet and, you know, damage does occur, certainly in a military application, I don't think that this is something that's going to be a miss in your fleet. Certainly for people who are not, you know, so much combat oriented, this might be something that they would prefer. And I don't think that it's going to be an unwelcome sight in that fleet. Like, oh, well, there's a dead ship. Why don't we got to carry old repair boy around? I think that it's going to be a very strong ship, and it's going to be a very useful ship in those scenarios. Beyond that, I am not so certain. But not to the point where I would say, yeah, don't waste your money on this. It's a real piece of crap. It is probably one of the stronger ships out there. It's one of the more unique designs. And I like it because of that as well. And certainly there is going to be a need in the universe to fix the things that we invariably break. Certainly with ships starting to take wear and damage, something like this may come in handy. But day in, day out, I'm just not so certain. That is something that we will have to really wait and see. So those are my thoughts on the Crucible and broadly the Anvil line of ships. Remember at the beginning when I said I was going to go through these ships quickly? And then it ended up being a 20+ minute episode. Yeah. Oh well. I am going to go get some sleep. I've got many more episodes to do because there are many more ship sale days coming up. So I've got to get cracking on all of those. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you at the next one.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.